welcome to the weekly open mic. Hey, I'm Aaron. I'm the CEO of Rewst. If you're new, also if you're new, we do this call because MSPs asked for it. You wanted to hear what bugs we fixed, what's new in the platform, and you wanted to do a little R&Ding or robbing and duplicating some of the automation ideas that your peers may have. And with that, a couple reminders. At Rewst, we use Discord. I haven't done this reminder in a while. Before Discord, there was Slack. Before Slack, there was, I don't know, what? AIM, ICQ. Before that, there was, email. Before that, normal phone, rotary phone. We use something like Discord, not because we love Discord or we're like Discord fanboys. We use it because it allows you to have real-time interaction with our ROC and support and CS people to do it in real time. It's an evolution. We're all growing together. I'm sure a lot of folks were upset when we moved to email, but it's bettered the world. And so will Discord and whatever platforms come after it. So evolve with the world with us. With using Discord, there's an important thing you should do with it because I can count. Let me see, who's going to count? Brian Simpson. How many people have been successful with automation that haven't asked a question?
I think that's going to be exactly 0.0.
So that's correct. In my experience, one of the warning signs of whether or not an MSP is going to succeed with automation is if they think they're an expert. People who think they're experts don't learn anything. And so you are going to learn something because you're going to ask questions. So if you get stuck in a workflow or you don't even know where to begin, jump in the coop. You can ask the group of MSPs that use the platform, or you can jump in your private channel. My support or ROC team will pop in there and help you out. The more questions you ask, the smarter you will get. And with that, Ash is on vacay. So I'm going to pass it over to George. What's up?
Hey, Aaron. Thanks so much. We'll get the ball rolling with a couple of quick fire community updates today, guys. Thanks to everyone who was able to join our webinar with Ninja live yesterday. If that is something that you missed, we do have a recording. It has been posted in the Discord Ninja channel under Birds of a Feather, so you can access it there. And I'll also drop it in the chat here for anybody that wants to check it out. So yeah, some great content there for people who are using Ninja and Rewst together. And there was also a great comment that came up in the webinar yesterday that we might drop in, something about Ninja, Rewst, chainsaws, and Roombas. So we'll drop that one in as well, because I think that you fine folks will appreciate that. The second thing is next week is the GTIA ChannelCon conference down in Nashville. So anyone who is going to be down there, myself and Mr. Tim Fournette will be down there. So if you are in Nashville and at that event, please come by and say hello to us. We'd love to meet you in person. We always appreciate those interactions and chatting. We'd love to hear the good, the bad, the ugly. Buy you a drink, say hello. So yeah, if you're down in Nashville next week, please be sure to stop by and say hello. Moving on, we are without my fellow Canadian Daniel with an A, but we do have a very suitable replacement. Mr. James Hunt is going to be lining up our product update today. But James, maybe to get the ball rolling, I was given a rather lovely introduction for you, but I'm going to refrain from that. I'm going to invite you to give your own instead.
All right. Suitable replacement is probably a good thing. James Hunt, I'm the product manager over the core team. I started at Rewst on the Crate team with Daniel Hayes under Adam, and have moved over to be a PM here. So yeah,
Perfect. Thanks, James. What has been going on in the world of product this week? We've got some updates for you, and also the aforementioned Dan Hayes has something to show us as well after.
That's right. So we have 2 update posts. The first update happened over the weekend, and the second update happened this week. Important ones to call it here on new features. We fixed an issue where forms were being updated in the US and it wasn't being published out across regions, which were causing some foreign key issues that anyone in our other regions were seeing from time to time when they unpacked crates. That should be fully fixed now. This Daniel's going to go over, Mr. Hayes, and the Ninja integration, and we added ticketing and documentation stuff. You can go to that webinar probably to see that overview. A laundry list of bug fixes here. Probably the one I would want to call out most is this one related to the engine and null characters. We've had a problem in the platform for a long time around storing null characters in our database, and that should be fixed now. So if for some reason your APIs are pushing in null characters, we can actually handle those now. Let's see, and this week's updates. So the forms issue, we realized templates were in the same boat, so we fixed that with templates where they'll publish across regions now too. And we fixed, it's in addition to a feature where if you enabled support access and a new org got created, support access wasn't enabled in that new org, so our support team struggled with helping you set org vars and different things like that in that new suborg. So now that's been fixed. Now support access is inheriting up. So if the support access is enabled and a new org's created, it automatically gets support access enabled. And it still will lose support access whenever the expiration is or you guys turn it off, but that helps with support. Again, smaller list this week of fixes. Probably the one that's probably most visible is the cannot walk when you revert your suborg. This usually happens when there's a deleted sub workflow in your workflow. So that should be fixed now. And upcoming is basically just integrations for now. There's a lot of upcoming stuff that we're not talking about publicly yet, obviously, besides AI and everything else. But Dropsuite, bVoIP, and Leader are our next integrations coming up. And to Dan next, George?
Yeah, thanks, James.
Yeah.
Dan, have you got something cool to show us live on the call?
Yeah, let me just share my screen. And hopefully I share the right one. All right, can everyone see my screen? Cool. So as I'm sure most of you are aware, we have an action called the core confirmation email. And essentially what that does is it allows you to create an email that has buttons within it that you can use to make something happen. So for the longest time, it wasn't possible to change any of the styling or anything like that. So you would just get our normal like Rewst themed email. For quite a while, people have been asking for a way to customize that. So one day I kind of thought, okay, how difficult would that be? So I decided to find out, and it actually wasn't that difficult. So I ended up adding a few custom fields here. So you'll see custom button CSS, custom footer, custom title CSS, logo link, logo URI, and remove footer. So basically for this demo, I just have 3 of these actions on the workflow. This first one that we're going to get is just the regular one, so you can see how it looks normally. And then this one just has the footer removed. And then this one actually has some branding. I'm not too creative, so I just made it after baked goods. So basically, I'll just let this run. And then I should have Outlook open, and I do. So this is the regular email. Kind of just named it no branding just to make it apparent. So, you know, we have the default primary and danger, and then the regular footer. So if I click this, that will open up to the normal Rewst.io page as it currently does. I didn't have it change the redirect. But then you can see here, this is the one with no footer, so kind of the same idea. And then I just accepted that one, so the new email should come in here shortly, and there we go. So you can see in here, I've changed the colors and everything, changed the logo, and then I also have it linking to yahoo.com because I couldn't think of a better thing to link it to. But yeah, that's basically it. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you're going to want to look at the documentation if you plan on using this. You can find the documentation for it under the core actions document, and then under the email, SMS, and confirmation actions. So if you go to the confirmation email, there's just some information about it, and the stuff that you'll care about in terms of customization is down here. So this is basically just listing off some of the classes, and then it also explains the customization options. And then we also give examples. So for the custom button CSS, there's an example there, an example footer, and then an example custom title CSS, and then an example logo link, and then an example logo URI. Now, one thing I do want to mention, for the image, it's basically just doing the regular image tag and then the source parameter. So one thing that you can do besides giving a link is you can do base 64 encoded images. So that's just something to keep in mind, because that's something that somebody wanted whenever I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do with this. But yeah, that's it.
Love it. Thanks, Dan. Anyone got any questions on that? Feel free to speak up now, or go ahead, Al.
Yeah, why didn't I know about this before? I didn't know this exists. This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you learn something new all the time.
Yes. All the more reason to make sure you're joining these open mics full of tips and tricks and bits and pieces. Always giving value. Love it. Thanks, Dan. If anyone does have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Next up, we're going to head over to education and speak with Clea and see if how many names she can say in one breath. Or is it Eddie instead?
Did you skip marketplace updates, or what's that?
We can go to marketplace. Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
Sure.
Can't change the order of things, George.
JP, over to you then.
All right. All right. For marketplace, we have a few new crates that we released. We have the BitLocker documentation crate, and we also rewrote the crates that add form links to the onboarding tickets. The big thing there is we rewrote them. The workflows are nicer, and we support additional PSAs, which is probably the more meaningful thing to people. To look at the BitLocker thing real quick and see what that entails, there's the workflow, if you want to see the workflow. Here are the associated items with the configuration that it will create. It tells you some interesting information about the BitLocker drives associated with the computers, and it stores the recovery password here. And we also have a toggle, so if you want to include drives that don't have BitLocker enabled on them as well, it'll create associated tagged items for those as well. So aside from that, we did some bug fixes, and we have a couple things in the pipeline to be released here soon. So that's it for Marketplace.
Thanks, JP. We also have from Marketplace team Paul, who is going to do on Paul's demos, which we love. So Paul on Marketplace, team. It's something moving forward that we want to do is kind of highlight some of the existing crates that we have. There's a lot in there, and sometimes it's easy to miss when new things get released. So if there's a particular crate you want to see on open mic or want a little bit more detail on one of these live calls, just shoot me or JP a message so we can get it scheduled and kind of do more of a walkthrough. But today, Paul is going to take us through the M365 Build Org Chart. So for those who haven't seen it, or if you're new to Rewst, this is a really cool crate that you'll want to check out. Paul, over to you.
Good afternoon. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully that's the right one. So this is the M365 Build Org Chart crate. It's a pretty simple to use crate. It's pretty nice to have too. It's going to basically show you all the Office 365 users that are connected to someone that basically connected to a supervisor. So anyone that has it's going to list off all the supervisors and it's going to show all the users connected to that. So everyone they are in charge of. So I'll go ahead and run through this. To get to this crate, you just go into crates, crate marketplace, and then you're going to go ahead and unpack the crate here. Then once you have the crate, you're going to have access to the form, which you can find in the form section, or you can go through the workflow through the actual trigger. I'll just do that here. You click view direct URLs here and click this. It's going to pull it up. You don't have to, this is going to be right on top level, so you'll be able to select what organization you can run this for. Go ahead and run it for this one. You have an option to include isolated users. If you have a lot of users and they're not mapped to supervisors, it's probably best not to click this because it's going to show every single one of those users and not a lot of connections, because it's going to it'll show everything and it'll show all those not connected. So I would leave that unchecked when you first run this, but you can uncheck it if you want. And you go ahead and submit this. Then you will get an email. We'll let that run. Second here. And once I get that email in a couple of seconds here, I'll open that. And you'll get the email. It will look like this. And you go ahead and click that. This is basically a webhook that we have configured on this workflow that I'll go over after. And once you click that, it's going to pull up a little chart diagram that maps everything, all the users to their supervisor. So makes it easy to look. If you run this for someone, you can easily tell what their supervisors are. It's pretty nice for like HR and management, just to know who belongs to who at a quick glance. How this is working is it's running the workflow. It runs through. It's going to create a link. It'll run through the workflow, and it's going to generate all this data, all the connected users, and it's going to add them to a template that you have. And this template is going to be mapped in this webhook right here, which you can see here. So when you get the email with this, the webhook, it's going to be pointing to that template, and it's going to grab the data that you created here, which I'll pull up somewhere. I think I have it open anyways. So in this template, you can put HTML in this template. And when you're using this webhook, you want to set it to
I think you accidentally muted Paul.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh no, I don't know how long I was muted for.
You're back. No, you're good.
Okay. All right. So you can open this this template, and pretty much any template, and you can point the webhook response body to this template, or just fill it in the response body section. And you can create little HTML documents in here. And point all the data coming from the workflow into here by using the context variables. This is pulling in a library called MermaidJS. So that's imported here, and then it's using those functions to create the charts. So you can use webhooks for a lot more than just like HTML. They do support JavaScript as well for outputting data. And that's pretty much that crate and how that works.
Great, Paul.
Any
Thanks
questions?
So much.
Yep.
Anyone has any questions, guys? Now's your time, or feel free to drop it in the chat. Paul and JP are in there. Can help anyone out. But yeah, great demo, Paul. Thanks very much. Clea, now we will move to you.
I am ready. Had to warm up my vocal cords.
Do your breathing exercises?
I do. I won't share them. Trade secrets. What I'm showing here is actually a revamped homepage for the doc site. So if you were ever wondering on where to get started with Rewst, that is now on the docs.rewst.help homepage directly. We link out to a few CluckU courses, documentation on the basics, and would love your feedback. Give us a smiley face. Give our documentation manager, Lisa, some kudos and submit that on through. But in terms of training updates, shout outs to Foundations certified folks: Will, Leo, Nodar, Scott, Tim, Stephen, Rajiv, Joel, Philip, Summit, Jason, and Jim. And shout out to Bobby, Samuel, Stephen, Lorenzo, Cole, Eric, and Jim for clean automation, and our very own Tanner from Rewst. What's new at CluckU? Normally we tell you, this time you tell us. I don't know, there's a few tweaks. Don't know if anyone will notice, but we are open to any feedback. Let us know in the CluckU Discord channel. Mostly today, I just want to highlight some updated documentation. Some of those things were mentioned earlier on today's call, so go give those docs some love. And back to you, George.
Thanks, Clea. I love that URL. That's definitely one I'll remember. If you need help with Rewst docs, go to docs.rewst.help. Nice and easy to remember. Cool. All right, we're going to roll into some partner demos now. First up, I'm going to welcome all from the UK, actually. So jumping on this Friday evening, so really appreciate that. Mark Poulding from Superfast IT. Mark, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, I'm there.
Hi,
yet.
Mark.
Hi, how you doing? Just been doing that.
Good. How are you? Whereabouts in the UK are you joining us from?
Birmingham, from in the middle of England. So, yeah, if anybody's watched Peaky Blinders, it was filmed just down the road. So that's where we're from. So yeah, I've got a cybersecurity sort of client overview. The problem I had was that I was spending sort of like a couple of hours a week. The account manager was coming up to me saying, I'm going to see this customer. What do I need? And I was looking at their tickets, looking at their infrastructure, looking at the secure score, looking at all these things, spending an hour 2 or 3 hours each week putting that report together. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try and automate this. So I was going to demo this, and everybody I've sort of shown it to has gone, it's really good. But then I suddenly realized I'm showing something straight out of my RMM. So it'd probably be like data breach city. So I've had to take screenshots and anonymize it as much as possible. But if I just quickly share my screen, make sure I share this with the right one. So what I did is a bit like how, can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah. Bit how you have like a Rewst pod on the side for each ticket. I added a sort of a pod into the company for each company, so that would show HTML report for each sort of every single client would have like an automated report. So that's sort of what it looks like in RMM. Sorry, ConnectWise, and this is kind of the report automated. So what I do, obviously I've had to this was actually client information, so I've had to sort of anonymize it. But basically I'll take all the last 3 months tickets in ConnectWise, send them over to OpenAI and say, Can you give me an overview of the tickets? Are there any critical issues that the account manager needs to be aware of? That was the question that I put into OpenAI, and it would come back and it might highlight some issues or tickets that keep coming up and up. I've automated all this information to come out of IT Glue. So I take out their internet connection, their firewall, the network range. So example here, I'm sort of automatically highlighting that then business networks on a 192 network. I'm taking a lot of this information from IT Glue. I'm pulling all the computers out of ConnectWise. In this situation, I'm going to rework this. I don't quite like the way I do it. I think I'm just going to have it like a list, but the idea I wanted to be able to show to the account manager, this many computers is older than 5 years, this many Windows 10 computers, this many out of warranty, the same for the servers. I've got a script that runs on all the computers that hits a webhook in Rewst and then stores the information in SQL database, which allows this information to come back. So it will show if there's any local admins of any computers. So the client can say, why has this person got local admin? It's pulling the BitLocker stuff. I had to just anonymize that and take it out, but it pulls all the computers to make sure the computer's it's reporting back to the client that they've got BitLocker. It's pulling back the domain policy. And from here, I'm saying with their current domain policy, which is a PowerShell script that runs on their server. It's currently 7, it should be 12 to assign to Cyber Essentials. Pulling all the domain users when they've last logged on. I'm pulling the vulnerabilities from Sentinel-1. I'm using the Sentinel-1 crate, Sentinel-1 integration to pull back any CVS scores more than 7. I'm pulling out all our agreements to say which agreements haven't they got. Have they got Microsoft 365 protection, vulnerability management? I've done a little bit where our engineers can put little information to the account manager so there can be reminders, pulling the conditional access rules, the secure score, the users. To be honest with you, the MFA, the MFA from Rewst is brilliant that it enforces everybody's mailboxes, but like this is like a kind of a reassurance to the client that all your users have got MFA, the conditional access rules, their license state, and then their Office 365 users, the licenses they've got, and all the privilege roles. All this I'll just nick from your crates, but then I get the workflow to make the HTML, and that gets displayed using your app builder.
Nice. So Mark, just a couple of questions. So this kind of came from the interactions you were having with account managers where they're going having a client meeting. So you're able to pull a lot of data in here, which is great. And previously you were just having to do that kind of manually. How much time do you reckon you're saving now that you've got this built where you can run a workflow and instantly get this in a nice report compared to what you were doing previously?
Yeah, I mean, I was spending like 4 or 5 hours, about 3 or 4 hours a week, probably just like creating this information. But I'm hoping that like from this I can try and build from it as well. So instead of like, if I want to add something else, so for me I want to kind of, some of the sort of things I want to move on with this is like I want to add like their applications, are they in the cloud, are they local, how are they backed up, so the account manager can show that. So really it's about hopefully showing our value. But yeah, it's about 4 or 5 hours, I'd say about 3 or 4 hours a week. I've probably sunk more into that. I could probably got like 3 hours back, but I've kind of enjoyed doing it. So
yeah. And you've kind of got the cornerstones in where you can add more to it. That kind of brings me on to my second question, which is more kind of focused around like the culture of automation. So with maybe some of your account managers, maybe they're not as technical. Whenever you were creating this, was that an opportunity for you to kind of show them the information you have access to and let them tell you what the client's interested in? Because I think that's a conversation that a lot of people have where as an MSP you go into your client, you say, here's all this really cool stuff that you should check out, and they kind of go, not really interested in that, I actually want to see these things instead. Can you talk just a little bit about the process for how you collaborated with those client managers to work out what you need to pull?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, really what it was I had like an Excel document that a lot of the clients had value from. So I used to sort of like, I had basically an Excel document that I kept filling out with the information. So I'd kind of got an understanding that the client kind of got some value out of it because we'd kind of built that up over time. But it was that Excel document that I was giving to the clients that was taking time. So I wanted to be able to add that in. For us, I mean, I think like for me, it's like the clients just want to know they want to know where the risk is and they want to know what's important to them. So for us, it's just about just about getting that information to the clients about, this is where your risks are and this is where you need to improve. I'm hoping to sort of maybe make this into a bit more of a roadmap as well for them, to sort of say we want to do this next year. But
very cool. Well, is there a particular key thing that you or your account manager report back, like on this report? They're like, this is the thing, like this is the piece of data that really, gets clients interested and allows us to kind of have a bit of a wedge into maintaining services, upselling services, helping people understand their own IT hygiene. What would you say is the kind of key piece that you're pulling in?
Yeah, I'd say maybe for us, it's like the kind of the services they're missing. So it opens up the conversation to say, like, what's that service? Because a lot of the time, like, our clients go to us and they come to us with like compliant questions, and they'll say like, they'll have to answer like a cyber insurance question, and then we go, you haven't got that, and you haven't got that, and they go, well, why didn't you tell us that? So that is ultimately what's trying to drive they didn't know that we did it. So it's hopefully driving that kind of conversation to say, actually you do need to have 365 monitoring, you do need to have that kind of stuff, and it's just really to try and open the door and show the clients where they are, because I think clients want to know where they are, they want to be graded, they want to know where the risk is, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And just remember, when it comes to a lot of these IT things, it's always going to be your fault, right? So the more you can do to highlight things and simplify things for those clients so that they can understand and make an informed decision, the better. But yeah, thanks again, Mark, for showing this really, really impressive work, and I appreciate you hopping on a Friday evening from Birmingham.
Yeah, nice one. All the best. Thanks, George. Cheers.
Thanks so much, Mark. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
All right, next up, we have Logan Cook is going to show us a couple of things. Logan, before we jump into that, I wanted to ask you the correct pronunciation of your MSP name and the origin of that. So, Mark, if you don't mind, you can just stop sharing your screen now, and we'll kick it over to Logan there.
Yeah, so the right way to pronounce that would actually be Bezlu, and the origin is a Polish phrase meaning to have no regrets. It's a different pronunciation there, but just the gist of it.
There sounds like there's a story behind that. Is that kind of like back of a napkin in a bar type of thing? Is there some Polish heritage associated with the MSP?
Well, the owner's definitely Polish, but he started off as basically selling Optiplexes out of his pickup truck. So it was definitely an interesting operation at the beginning, and we've come a very long way from there.
Awesome. Well, listen, let's start by chatting maybe just a little bit about where you started, and I know you work well with Garrett as well. And thanks so much for going back and forth with me on Discord this week. Maybe just for folks who are new to Rewst, can you tell us a little bit about how you guys got started in automation and using Rewst, and any quick tips or tricks or advice you have for other new partners?
Yeah, so I mean, I think like any other MSP, we started out mainly by automating in our RMM with simple scripts. From there, we started noticing that there's a lot more potential here than just automatically running disk checks and just random health checks on a PC and fixes. From there, we noticed that we stumbled upon Rewst on the PAX 8 marketplace, started digging in, and saw that it was basically taking that check if there's an issue, fix it, check it again logic, and then applying it across everything you use and touch in your organization. So from there, I started getting all of our crates unpacked, building out a couple of super simple workflows, and eventually we hired Garrett, and that's all he does all day now, is write code and build workflows.
Awesome. And you're going to show us one of those today. I think you've got something pretty cool around the ConnectWise PSA and Rewst org tags, right?
Yeah, and just to preface it before I start screen sharing, I did not make this workflow, so yeah, we're all going to have some surprises here.
straight up robbing.
Absolutely. All right, let me get my windows selected here. There we go. All right, so org tags. One of the best things about Rewst is that you can organize things using tags. We don't have folders yet. I don't know if that would even be applicable to organizations, but we need a good way to automatically apply some of these things. Starting at the top, we're going to go ahead and figure out who our ConnectWise organizations are. I store that into, I am missing all over the place. I store that into a list with some simple Jinja, breaking out your values with list comprehension here. And then you come down. This is where it gets a little bit weird because with our organization, we have two different ways a client can have an agreement. The first one is going to be a IT agreement, and that looks pretty standard. Like you go to the company, you go to agreements, and then you have your bundle plan under the company, super box standard. But if we come back over here, Garrett's given us a very descriptive note about how he feels about doing this. We had to use a special method called Rails to actually get this information. Let me see if I can pull up the path he's using. Okay, so you hit this weird system path on here under the action processor, and then it looks like a command. Brian actually has some information about using these on his blog. I don't know about this specific one, but generally some info on how to interact with this type of an endpoint from ConnectWise. All right, so we gather all of that data together into more lists. Definitely fun. And then grabbing specific record IDs out of here with JSON path queries. This is very, very useful to know if you are trying to get a specific parameter out of some sort of nested data. So if you don't know JSON path, check it out. It's very, very cool. All right. Just to outline what that agreement looks like in ConnectWise, since it is a bit weird, this would be if you have an agreement on a company. So same as before, we're going in here, but then instead there is this sites tab. I've already pre-populated it on this one because we've got a bunch of sites, but we'll say add a site and then enter test. So doing this right here is going to essentially add another company to this company's agreement. And we do this because we need to attribute costs from one organization back to this one. It's kind of pricing labor by proxy because this organization is also us. Anyhow, taking all of that information into account, we then transform it into one nice list. Actually, I think this is just the VoIP list he's transforming here. After we've got that, he is going to do a GraphQL mutation. This is basically doing a if, else if, and then else check to say what kind of tags the organization should have. So if they have that first type of agreement, where it's just an IT agreement directly on the company, we're going to give them a managed service tag. I think he has it named differently under these IDs and the tags that are saved in Rewst, but he's identifying it by this. If they are present in both lists, it's going to add both the tags. If it's only IT, it's only going to add the IT tag. If it's only VoIP, it's only going to add that one. I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what's going on down here, but yeah. Oh, no, okay. So this is just saying no tags and then appending what org it's going to get stuck on. That makes sense. GraphQL is kind of new to me. I apologize. But an example of what that would look like after running is something like this. So say we have both agreements on this tenant. You would have these two tags on here. If it's only IT, there you go. Only VoIP. There you go. And a really cool benefit of doing it this way is that you can then go to your triggers and make it so that your workflows only fire for certain types of organizations. You don't have to do this based on agreements. You can do it based on anything you can pull out of your PSA realistically, and then filter how your workflows are executing on clients that way.
Logan, do you mind, could you give like an example of that, like a real world example maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, we have a lot of clients that are only on the VoIP side. So we only provide managed voice services for them, not IT. So when we have a couple of workflows that are going to be doing, like say, security standard enforcement across Microsoft tenants, we're going to get workflow failures on tenants that don't have Microsoft integrated. So instead of trying to do complex error handling there, we're skipping executing it on them entirely.
Right, and I guess that's helpful for some of your tracking of workflow executions, like you're not getting failures that technically aren't really failures either.
Exactly. So on our Grafana dashboard that we have, it won't be ticking up that errors metric that Garrett's got to keep an eye on.
Awesome. There are a couple of questions in the chat there, Logan. I'll let you take a peek, but maybe before we jump in, was there one other small little thing you wanted to show us as well, just while we have you?
It depends on how long the other presentations are going to take. This was a little bit longer than the 5 minutes I thought.
We can circle back if we have some time at the end. Sure,
exactly.
We've got one more part in demo. I'll let you jump into the chat there because James had a question for you. I'm not going to read it out because I'll get tongue-tied on what he's written. But yeah, thanks for sharing. I really appreciate it.
Yes, James, it definitely can help with that because you could put a wildcard in the middle and basically boil it down to .result, I believe. It can get a little bit more complex than that if you need to look up specific values, but yeah, it can cut out a lot of the nonsense. All right.
Cool. Thanks, Logan. Appreciate it. All right, next up for our final scheduled partner demo, we have Daniel from Network Essentials.
Yeah, hey, thanks, George.
Hey,
George asked me to show off something simple today, so I was looking through our back catalog and I found a recent one we've done that's really simple, but also very useful. And that is when we have clients with employees going out of country, we have alerts that get triggered automatically of out-of-country sign-ins for, mostly it's for Microsoft 365, but we have some other systems that block out-of-country logins, like the VPNs and whatnot. And we have always struggled as a company about getting that information from the clients and then acting on that information. So we've had Teams groups where if client tells us, then someone puts a message in there, and that didn't really work because sometimes the message would go to like account management and they're not in the group message, like all that fun stuff we've struggled with. And clients don't know how to tell us. Sometimes they'll create a ticket. Sometimes they'll email somebody in the company they know. So we decided a simple way to solve that is a form. So we're giving the clients a form that will do it. So I'm going to share my screen here. Let's do this one. There we go. We created a simple form. If I go into our portal here, it's nicely laid out form. We can say out of country notification, like so. Then all we have to do is go through the client. This is what the client sees. They just go through and say like, all right, who's out of country? They can actually select multiple because sometimes, especially, with Mr. and Mrs. McTesterson here, they might go on vacation together. They say where they're going, we'll just say Angola, and then when they leave and when they come back. So for the client, it's a very simple process. And then they submit that. We're going to see if this works. It might not because technically I'm logged into an account, but I don't know. It doesn't have a contact and manage, and we probably didn't account for that edge case, but we're going to see. So all this does is create a ticket. Nothing complicated, but now there's a ticket on the board with the relevant information in a place that is actionable for us. What we have to do, that can vary by client. There's all kinds of things that we need to take into consideration. But at the core, we have the information that we need to do the job. So it said workflow completed. We'll check here in a second and see if there's a ticket. This is a pretty simple form. As you saw, there's only a few questions. It works by simple workflows here. So you get the users, it just gets the active contacts in the company. So we're not going to Microsoft 365, we're going to ConnectWise PSA, pulling the active contacts, and that's who they can tell us about because those are the users we care about. And that also gets a lot of junk out of the way. We don't have to worry about like, is this an old user that's still licensed because they're still around or whatever? That doesn't apply to our contacts. So that's our source of knowledge there. Similar with the list of countries, we have a workflow for that. There's probably a reason for that, but we do. And then set date. So that's nice and simple. What that does is then triggers a workflow. This workflow, actually, there is another version of the form that is for us to submit where we can select the company. So if we submit it, it goes down a slightly different path. But the basic concept here is get the user who submitted it, and I think the contacts for the people on the ticket. Then for every person selected, create a different ticket, because I think that was the best way we decided to do it. Is one ticket per user going out of country. Go through, create the tickets. Actually, this one gets the contacts. Then we create the tickets. We're using a template here so that we can easily update it without having to go into the workflow. And then this last step, I think, is not currently being used. It is refactoring some of the data in the on-success, but I think that may be legacy. But that's it. So pretty simple workflow. Basically, just create a ticket. Take the information, create a ticket. Something Rewst is particularly good at. We're using a template here, so it auto fills in all this information. We could obviously change the language if our knock techs are struggling or something like that. It's very easy for us to modify it. And then let's see if that ticket was actually created. I've got our knock board over here. Oh yeah, yep, 2 tickets on our knock board. Actually, here, I'll filter the knock board down so you guys don't see anything you shouldn't. TC1, and then pull that tab over. And then we just pull this tab over here. And there it is. So there's 2 out-of-country notifications. One that's assigned to Testy and one that's assigned to Testina. And then our knock techs will process them appropriately. It's not rocket science here. We would love to have Rewst doing it automatically. We don't currently have SAS alerts, our main Microsoft 365 alerting partner integrated. Once we do, we probably will have it automated. But until we do, humans can do it. It's fine. And it's much better than what we had before, which was, just hearing through the grapevine when someone went out of country.
Got it. Thanks, Daniel. So just to confirm, so this is a really cool way to give your knock team a heads up that, hey, these clients are going to be out of country. It is okay. Just make sure that you guys are aware and don't, drop the portcullis on them like it's a validated thing. Like it's not some random, from Angola getting in. They are vacationing
exactly.
in Angola.
Yeah, that prevents our knock from overreacting and like disabling the account or resetting the password. We've had cases where we've done that, or calling somebody while they're on vacation. Calling them and being like, "Oh, I'm in Bermuda right now. Why are you calling me?" Like, "Oh, sorry." Yeah, so that prevents those types of things, and it gives a clear path for everybody. Now, instead of a kind of general idea of a process, there's a very set process. And then, yeah, the knock can do whatever they need to do to turn off those alerts, and then they also know when to turn them back on again. So that it's a very simple process for us.
How have you found moving things to the forum? That seems like a really simple but strong way to actually change your client behavior towards what you're looking for. I completely empathize with what you were saying, where we had a Teams chat, we had emails, and so much of that stuff either doesn't get done or gets lost in the ether. So by creating a dedicated forum and just say, always go here, and build that habit, has that been something that you've seen have a positive impact in terms of your own client adoption for helping?
Yeah, it does. It helps that we have the portal here, which is just the app builder. It is just the app builder pages, and we list all of our forms in the app builder page. So clients get used to, decision makers, leaders, and companies get used to going to this portal to find the forms. And when we add a new form and they go outside a process, we can say, hey, can you submit that form through the portal? There's a new one in there for you. And it does make a huge difference. Clients like it because they know what to do. They know how the process works. And when they have a problem, like our service is not what they think it should be because we weren't getting the information in a way that's useful. They emailed some random person. Then we say, oh, okay, well, we created this form for you. Please go use that form in the future, and we'll make sure it's done right for you in the future. So it helps on both ends. It helps with the client's happiness of our service and how good we do, how good they see us as a company, but it also helps us with happiness with the client because it streamlines that entire process, and that communication gives accurate and actionable information instead of, a sentence that says so-and-so is going to go on vacation. Just want to let you guys know, bye. not giving us dates, not giving us places, that sort of thing. We can guarantee that we have that data.
Yeah, or someone sending a message like, hey, I'm doing this thing, and then there not being a response or a generic response being like, thanks for that email. Like actually being able to have this element of self-service almost is pretty cool. So I love to see this. And you said you built this in App Builder?
Yeah. This page is App Builder. Yeah, we're still building it out, but it works pretty well. And I was going to show, reports wise, we've just started building in reports for our clients. So, going to the first presenters list there. So we have like the computer list you can get here, the user list. We have Screen Connect user list here, installed software, basic stuff that clients want. They can get that. And then also they get the forms, which are really simple to get to. And all that's just basic App Builder stuff.
Love it. Well, thanks so much for sharing, Daniel. Appreciate you pulling that up for us.
No problem.
So guys, we've got a few minutes left. Just wanted to open it up for anyone on the call who had any questions or anything that they wanted to flag with a bunch of us on the call here. Anyone have any specific questions they want to ask, or is anyone struggling with anything and needs some advice, some tips, some guidance? Now's your time. Neil, I don't know. There's some good people here who do know a lot about App Builder. I'm sure they can give you some guidance. Daniel being one of them there. So feel free to hit him up on Discord or hop in the App Builder Discord channel for notes on more aesthetically pleasing App Builder pages. So a couple of chats coming in there, I think directly for you, Daniel, just on the portal, which is pretty cool. So we can let that run in the chat there. Anyone have anything, or you want to speak to it now, Daniel?
I can just say, all we're doing is just App Builder plus like the forms list of forms that we had there. I just used like Copilot I told it to write me a basic HTML page that took a JSON input from a webhook. Or a JSON input, I think I just did. And then, so it built out the like list of things, and then all I had to do was make Rewst put JSON in the right spot in the JavaScript, and then it gives a nice pretty list like that.
Cool.
So since you can just do basic HTML, there's no reason to get overcomplicated. You don't need a framework or anything like that. You just need a little CSS and JavaScript, and Copilot is great at writing that stuff.
Any other questions for our last open mic in July? That's crazy.
Hey, I have something. Did we ever welcome Linda?
Not officially. No, Aaron. I actually had reached out to Linda earlier. Wanted to give her a big role in this afternoon. She said she's very busy training, and she politely
so many videos
to leave her alone. I was like, Linda, we got to big you up and welcome you to the team. And she said, George, don't you dare. I'm very busy training, getting to know everyone at Rewst.
I didn't ask her first, so I get a get out of jail free card then.
You're the boss.
Hey Linda.
That's right.
Welcome.
If Aaron would have asked me, I would have said yes.
I'll see myself out.
Linda, why don't you say where you came from and what are you doing here?
Sure. So, hi, I am Linda. I am new to the Rewst team as an automation strategist, and I came from Atlas. I was with that MSP for 13 plus years. So I've got a background in MSP operations, and I've built workflows for the last couple of years with Rewst. I loved the product so much that I didn't want to work in any of the other MSP tools. I just wanted to work in this one. So I applied to work at Rewst.
Awesome. And for first off, welcome, Linda. When we saw your app come in, we were super excited. Welcome to the team. And then for you folks that employ Rewst builders, we do not hire from our customers. Actually, and this is pretty cool, the Atlas CFO emailed us and said it was fine for Linda to apply. And that's how we ended up with her. So thank you.
Yeah,
Welcome.
when I applied, I got a very a scary email that was like, okay, we don't poach from our clients, so you have to get permission. And I'm like, okay, I really want to work at Rewst. I guess I have to email for it. And I did, and they said yes.
But we continue to bring people on that have MSP experience, because that's all we do is MSP. We got 1 minute. Any last minute items?
Meow.
That sounded like pizza. All right. Well, have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you for the folks that demoed today. I know it takes some prep. I know at least one of you demoed during their bedtime, so thank you. And thank you, George, for getting this put together. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a good weekend, and chat with you next week.
Meow. Meow.
Meow.
Meow.